The head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
Welcome to The Head, the Tail, the Whole Damn Thing with industry professionals James Knight and Mike D. McCarty. Today's show features The Lost Boys, with Corey Haim displaying what can only be described as the school of open-mouth acting. Go ahead, watch it. Every single scene, his mouth is open for no reason. Also on the plate, Nosferatu. I hope you will enjoy this episode. All right, let's check in with the boys and see what's going on.
Warning. The following podcast contains numerous references, impressions, and details about Tim Capello, also known as the sexy sax man from The Lost Boys, or that shirtless saxophone dude from The Lost Boys. This podcast is not responsible or liable for any hot flashes, uncontrollable pelvic thrusting, or urges to take off your shirt and coat your bod in baby oil that you might experience while listening.
Oh, yeah. I see you're doing Timmy Capello if he were George Michael.
You know it. Timmy Capello. I left my codpiece in my other pants, though. So
nice.
I'll have to leave that to the imagination.
Yes, we have Nosferatu. We have Nosferatu today. I'm in the singy mood.
That's good. That's real good. Yeah. Well, post holidays coming out. Got to do something to break out of that post holiday funk. We got just the movies to break out of that post holiday funk because we got the funk.
I think so. And we talked about Nosferatu because it's going to be a holiday hit coming out, around Christmas time.
I think it came out on Christmas Day, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's such a weird Christmas film.
It is.
But how we wanted to pair it with something. And we talked about Near Dark. We talked about The Lost Boys. And we ultimately decided to go with The Lost Boys because it's more of a fun movie, maybe.
Totally. So much fun. So much fun. One of my wife's favorite movies.
Really?
Oh, yeah. She loves that.
That's great.
And I think in no small part because she bears a resemblance to Jamie Gertz in that
I was going to say. So, should we just jump right into The Lost Boys?
Absolutely, let's do it. You have like a write-up or a synopsis or something that you want to?
Yeah, I wrote something up, and then I started to change it a little bit, and I thought, you know what, maybe I should record it. And I thought, maybe I should put some music behind it. And so here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Lay it on me. Oh, there he is.
Ready to sink your teeth into the ultimate vampire flick, The Lost Boys, from 87, directed by Joel Schumacher. This classic follows Corey Haim, Jason Patrick,
yeah,
as they move to Santa Carla, the murder capital of the world. Yeah, of the world. Of the world. But there's too many damn vampires. Led by the iconic Kiefer Sutherland, Corey Feldman, and his brother. They mistake slash and rock their way. So ask me now, do I like this movie? I still believe I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you still like this movie?
I still believe I do. Yeah.
Oh, man. This movie is great and it holds up well. Funny, just looking through Rotten Tomatoes, I was like, oh, what do the critics say about it? This movie got panned when it came out, and I think all those critics just had a stick up their ass because this movie is totally fun.
And it holds up. It totally fucking holds up.
It is quintessential 80s movie.
Yes.
Absolutely. And, you know, I'm not a big, like, John Hughes 80s movie guy. There's a couple, like Ferris Bueller, I think, that movie's pretty much perfect.
Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club, also great, but there's a lot of John Hughes ones I can just do without. But Lost Boys... And my wife is also a big fan of Goonies, and I realized that as we were watching Lost Boys that this is also kind of a kids on bikes movie.
Totally. And in fact, this was originally pitched as The Goonies with Vampires. And the very first script was very PG
sense.
and G-rated. And the kids were younger. They were like 8-year-olds, right?
Well, that makes so much sense to me because there were numerous times in this movie, and Corey Haim, as you mentioned, was the younger brother of Jason Patrick. Corey Haim is the younger brother, and I kept thinking through this movie, like, how old is he supposed to be? Because he's a teenager, but some of the stuff he does, I was like, God, you seem like you're supposed to be like 9 years old or some dumb shit.
Yeah, like when he's in the bathtub goofing around and singing the song. Yeah, I think he's supposed to be 13.
So 13, and he's getting babysit by his older brother, and his brother Michael's like, take your bath. And right at that moment, I was like, take your bath? Well, who takes a bath?
Who takes a bubble bath?
Yeah, like a 6-year-old does. A 7-year-old does.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
A little kid does. And there was other stuff in here. But let's start from the beginning, because this movie has got a great cast.
Yep.
It's, like we said, tons of fun. Starts off with a great People Are Strange cover.
Oh, yeah, done by Echo and the Bunnymen, and Ray Manzarek actually playing it with them.
Oh.
Yeah, Joel Schumacher reached out to Ray Manzarek and said, hey, would you mind re-recording People Are Strange with Echo and the Bunnymen? And he said, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it's cool.
Oh, no shit. It's a great cover. And
it is.
It's funny because the montage of the family coming into Santa Carla, you know, got the amusement park, but the People Are Strange is such a reflection of, like, conservative 80s values. It's like, look at all these people with mohawks and piercings. That kid's skateboarding. Oh, these dirt bikes. These kids are out of control.
Yeah, totally. Oh, the boardwalk in Santa Carla.
You look at it, and now that shit looks so tame.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, could you imagine if they made it today?
I mean, I can imagine if they would make this today. It's one of those movies I kind of hope they would just leave it alone and let it be, but I'm almost surprised they haven't tried to remake this. But
well, they have done 2 sequels. Have you watched the sequels?
Oof, no, I wouldn't. I saw some trailers and stayed away from that.
Corey Feldman.
Are we worried that we're going to set off his Google alert if we say his name too much?
I hope we set off his Google alert.
I'm being summoned.
like the bat signal.
His little arrow on IMDb starts skyrocketing towards the green.
To be honest, he is one of the reasons why this movie is successful.
Oh,
it's the Frog Brothers.
Hey,
totally.
He was on top of the world at this point.
Yeah, know? I think he had done the Goonies, and he had done something else too, so he was starting to light it up. Goonies with vampires. And you know what's funny is 2 weeks earlier, Monster Squad came out. Do you remember that movie?
I do, specifically because I went to the movie theater with my cousin and my Aunt Betty, and we had to pick a movie. And because Lost Boys was rated R, because we wanted to see Lost Boys, and I don't know, I was like 12 years old. Lost Boys was rated R. We saw the Monster Squad instead.
Monster Squad cost $14 million and grossed $3 million domestically and $3 million worldwide. A little bit, so like $7 million with
I didn't realize Monster Squad was such a monster bomb.
Yeah, did not do well at all. And the Lost Boys, being rated R, coming out 2 weeks later, grossed $32 million worldwide and only cost $9 million to make. So it was a low budget movie.
Wow, lower budget than the Monster Squad?
Lower budget than the Monster Squad.
Man, they spent a lot of money on the Wolfman's Nards, I guess.
They did. Yeah.
Oh, that totally surprises me. I would have thought with the cast of Lost Boys It would have been... I guess Monster Squad has a lot of effects and stuff in it, too, but...
It does.
Still.
And I started to watch that movie the other night, but I was too tired and I was falling asleep, so I really got to sit down and give it its day in court, because I've never seen Monster Squad.
I mean, it's a kid's movie. It's a goofy kid's movie with all the monsters, right? Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein, all those properties.
The Mummy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen it, too. I'm sure Monster Squad has, like, rampant homophobia in it. Like all those kids' movies did back in the 80s.
It does. There's a lot of choice language.
Yeah.
I only watched 20 minutes before I was dozing off, but there was a lot of choice language coming out of the mouths of 13-year-olds.
Sure.
I was like, yeah, it was a different time.
Yeah. Monster Squad's got all those classic Universal ones. Lost Boys has perhaps the most MTV-ready vampires that have ever been put on film.
Yeah, and they look like pirates, the Lost Boys. They're dressed like pirates. Their cave is like a pirate hideout.
Totally. Again, Goonies.
Yeah, exactly. This goes back towards the idea of it being like a Goonies-style movie, which, of course... Richard Donner was involved in the Goonies. Richard Donner, producer on this.
Produced this one, yeah. I saw his... We've been seeing his name in a lot of the movies that we've been watching lately.
Yeah.
Of course, directing The Omen as well. Yeah, you know, when I saw all those vampires, to me, the first thing I thought of was backup dancers for Adam Ant. Look at these guys. Those are some fine jackets you're all wearing there.
Yeah, yeah.
And, let's face it, some of the sweetest mullets that have come out in a hockey-related movie.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland's mullet is so good in this movie. I thought, fuck, I almost want a mullet now. Look at how cool he looks.
He is definitely business up front, party out the back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, our family moves in, right? They got to move in with the grandpa, who is a delightfully weird grandpa. Likes his weed, likes his taxidermy.
Yeah.
Likes old widows.
I like to read the TV guide. I don't have a TV. If I read the TV guide, I don't need a TV.
Choice. Beautiful. Bernard Hughes? Is that?
Yeah, Bernard Hughes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Also, later in the movie, he drops what I truly believe is an excellent bit of philosophy, which is, do you know the rule about filling up the car with gas after you take it without permission? And he's like, no. He's like, well, now you do. I thought, that's great advice. I mean, if your whole thing is, I'm going to ask forgiveness instead of permission, you should try and just sweeten the deal a little bit by being nice. Be proactively cool about it if you know you're going to screw up.
You know what I was going to say about Richard Donner originally going to direct this, and then he passed on this movie to do Lethal Weapon.
Oh,
and there's a scene in Lethal Weapon where in the background, behind Riggs and Murtaugh, there is a movie theater marquee. It says, this year's hit, The Lost Boys.
Oh, really?
And it's before The Lost Boys has even come out, is when they were shooting that.
Nice. Well done, Richard Donner.
Yeah, it was good.
So our family moves into the house. We got all sorts of crazy taxidermy happening. The boys aren't satisfied with being there. Mom's awkward. The kids don't know what's going on. So they head out to the amusement park. And yeah, that's where we get our first sweet taste of the unforgettable Tim Capello as Sexy Sax Man. Who thought that was the thing that this movie needed?
I know. What the hell? Do you have any Timmy Capello bits or stories or something about him? Because he is the one thing that everyone remembers about that movie besides the Coreys.
So I have a group of friends, and we all try to get together on Halloween to do a group costume. And it was floated one year that we should do Lost Boys costume. We just couldn't convince one of the guys to not wear a shirt all night and oil himself up and have a ponytail and a saxophone. Because if you're going to group costume as the Lost Boys, you've got to have that cherry on top, I think. For anyone who wants that idea out there, feel free.
Yeah.
So Timmy Capello, he's been around for a while, obviously, but he was the sax player for Tina Turner. He did the sax solo on the Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
You go straight to hell. You just don't even pass go and collect $200. Go straight to hell for referencing that film.
And so his whole look, like, I'm not wearing a shirt and I'm all buff and oiled up, that was all because he had a bad heroin habit.
Oh, really?
And after he kicked it, he started working out like crazy. And then Tina Turner got a hold of him and put him in the band and was like, we need to sex you up.
And he said, I still believe.
And she was like, now sing that again, but wear this codpiece. So she's the one that gave him the codpiece that he wears, over his jeans.
That's so good.
Also, recently, there's a band called Gunship. They do like kind of 80s sounding synthwave electronic music. And he did a song for them a few years back and the song was based on the Lost Boys.
Really?
The song's about the Lost Boys. And so they used Tim Capello for a sax solo on it. And then I guess they liked him so much that now he's just kind of part of the band.
That's great.
Yeah, it's such a startling, hilarious part of this movie when he shows up. Maybe unintentionally hilarious. Mm-hmm. But as I was watching it this time, I realized there's a lot of this movie that's actually kind of funny that I didn't really catch on to before.
It's a legit horror comedy, and that was part of the problem of when they were starting to make it. You know, Joel Schumacher, he's shooting this movie, and Warner Brothers execs were like, we don't understand what kind of movie this is. Like, they were starting to get a little weirded out. They were like, is it a horror movie or is it a comedy or is it a kids movie? Because we don't get it.
Yeah, none of it is played for laughs at all. You know, Corey Feldman and the other guy that plays the other frog brother, they're ridiculous, but they're also like dead serious about everything in this.
Yeah, here's a little clip of them introducing themselves.
Oh.
We're dedicated to a higher purpose. We're fighters for truth, justice, and the American way.
And when you hear it out of context, it really does sound fucking crazy and silly.
Or a vampire.
But Corey Feldman is so serious about it that you just kind of go on that ride. He's got you in the palm of his hand.
You do. You know what was hot at the time was Rambo, right? And these kids are both dressed up like fucking Rambo. And in fact, there's even a line later. I didn't grab a clip of it, but after Death by Stereo, Corey Feldman says to the other Corey, "Way to go, Sambo."
That's right. I think they even do like the handshake.
They do
Predator handshake at that.
Too. Yeah. Oh, the first happening of the Predator handshake was on the Lost Boys.
You son of a bitch.
CIA's got you pushing too many pencils.
Okay. I give up. The boys go to the amusement park. Jason Patrick instantly spots Jamie Gertz, like, oh, who's that girl? And starts following her through the crowd where they encounter the rest of the MTV-ready vampires.
Yeah, Billy Wirth, Alex Winter, Kiefer Sutherland, and some other guy, I can't remember his name.
Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses, maybe?
Totally looks like him.
Jamie Gertz is the richest actor in the world.
I did. I found that out today. I was like, no way.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell the kids at home why?
Yeah, because years ago, the fella that she married was, I don't know if he was an agent or he started an entertainment company. And then that company just kind of grew and grew and grew. But Jamie Gertz owns like parts of sports teams. Like she's got that kind of wealth.
No.
Yes, Mark Wahlberg. Yes.
Yeah.
She's a legit billionaire, I think.
Yeah, I think they own like the Milwaukee Brewers or something, don't they?
I think they've got shares of a couple sports teams, but
yeah, that's pretty great.
She does not need to go looking for a job anytime soon.
No.
Unlike Diane Wiest in The Lost Boys, who's desperate for work.
Who's looking for work, yeah.
And stumbles into our man Ed Herman's VHS shop or something. Is it a movie rental place?
It is. It's a movie rental place, yeah. A videotape rental place, which is great because, I miss those days. I miss being able to go to a Blockbuster or a family-owned rental place and like peruse through the box covers. And that was always good. But yeah, she meets him. And in fact, her first line to him, there's a little kid outside the store that looks lost.
That's right.
And she comes in, she's like, there's this lost boy. Can you help me find his parents? And there's so many Peter Pan references in this thing, right? I mean, it's straight out of the gate. It's Peter Pan. Peter Pan is a vampire, if you think about it. He can fly, like the Lost Boys can. He doesn't age.
Well, sure.
Like the Lost Boys don't. So there's the little kid in the little kid vampire, Star's little brother or whatever it is.
Lanny or something, I think his name is.
He's totally like Peter Pan.
Sure. He sleeps all day, parties all night.
That's right.
Never gets old, never dies. And if you don't clap your hands, his best friend dies.
How creepy. Peter Pan's pretty fucked up when you think about it.
There's one Disney property that hasn't aged all that well either.
Yeah. and Peter Pan's clan is referred to as the Lost Boys.
The Lost Boys, yep.
Yeah. So yeah, she gets a job there at the video store.
And Corey Haim, Sam, goes into the comic shop, and that's where he meets the Frog Brothers. And they have the dumbest conversation about comic books I have ever heard.
Because it's completely untrue, right?
Well, it's just complete nonsense.
Yeah.
The writers were like, well, let's demonstrate that he knows something about comic books. So he goes in there like, I'm looking for a Batman 14. And they're like, oh, there's only 5 of them in existence. And he's like, I'm always looking for the other 4. But like, what collector goes into a shop like that and is like, I'm looking for a Babe Ruth rookie card. Like... A Honus Wagner.
What 13-year-old collector whose mom doesn't have a job has Batman number 14, which I don't think is actually a thing. I mean, sure, there's a Batman number 14, but it's not like there's only 5 copies in existence.
Well, and the other thing is, he's like, you've got the Superman 300s before the Superman 85, but that doesn't make any sense because they haven't even discovered red kryptonite yet. And I was like, no, it doesn't make sense because 300 comes after 85 numerically, you fucking dumbass. Like, you're just saying they're out of order, which is like... You put the Star Trek 6 before the Star Trek 3, but that doesn't make sense because they don't even know that Spock's still alive. Like, no, that's... I get it, but you're just being dumb. Yeah. There's a simpler solution.
Yeah. And did you notice the hippies passed out in the corner in that shop all the time? Anytime you go to the shop, they're somewhere in the background sleeping?
Man, people are strange.
Doom, doom, doom.
Yeah, the hippies, the people with the mohawks.
Uh-huh.
I think at this point, have we already had our first flyby attack on people?
No, man, we're not.
Like the security guard at the very beginning gets it. The vampires flying is essentially like POV shots, cruising over with the sound. Maybe it's like bats in the background.
Mm-hmm.
As they pick people up, and you get that security guard, you get that couple in a car. They tear the roof off the car.
Yeah.
That was surprising.
Those are some strong vampires.
And then there's also a scene on the beach where they see their prey dancing around a campfire, and they go and vamp out on them. But I noticed in the credits, actually, my wife Michelle noticed that, and I was like, what? That they're credited as surf Nazis?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Surf Nazis is a legitimate thing.
I just don't think that these guys fit the bill.
Yeah.
Skanking around a Run DMC on the beach.
Yeah. My beach, my waves, brother.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
And as fun as this movie is, that also sort of highlights what sometimes I think is like real thin writing. They have a fantastic cast who pulls this off, but just like the comic book thing, I understand convention-wise why that scene is in there.
Yeah.
So you know that this kid is a comic nerd and he knows his stuff. But like no one really did any research about this. Just like calling those groups surf Nazis. That sounds good. It's like, no, that is not what that is. You're just blatantly calling it something it's not.
Yeah. Surf Nazis. Yeah, that sounds scary. These guys are punk, so they're definitely surf Nazis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We should have the vampires who are bad guys eat the surf Nazis because they're bad guys too. In fact, you see them, they're trying to pick a fight on the merry-go-round, as Nazis do. and they're trying to steal comic books like Nazis would.
Like Nazis would. For the fatherland.
Yeah. What other things would Nazis do in Santa Carla? Knock an ice cream out of an old lady's hand?
I'm not going to knock it down. I'm just going to take it. Is this Rocky Road? This is mine now.
Never rewinding the videotapes.
Oh, those surf Nazis. They are not kind at all. But yeah, there's a couple scenes. And honestly, that amusement park, I think, looks awesome.
It does.
It's just a couple clicks away from being Warrior-style Coney Island in that place.
Totally Warrior-style Coney Island. And this is all shot in Santa Cruz, which is Northern California. Almost everything is shot in Santa Cruz, except for the train bridge that they hang off of, which is about 10 minutes, 15 minutes from my house.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And also the rest of, like, the interiors were all shot at Warner Brothers Studios.
Oh, okay. Well, sure, that makes sense. That train trestle's near you, huh?
Yeah.
Does it get that sweet bank of fog underneath it? Because I did think that was that's a really cool scene in this movie.
Well, the cool thing about how they did that is, they shot some stuff out at the one in Santa Clarita. It's a real working train trestle bridge, and it's actually not that far off the ground. So you could hang from the bottom and drop.
Way to ruin the illusion.
And you're gonna land. But the other stuff that they shot, like they shot them hanging there, right? They comped in the fog. And then they shot some stuff on stage in Warner Brothers with them hanging from the roof of the stage, and they blacked out the stage and filled the floor of the stage with fog. And that is how they shot that scene. This has been a Hollywood Minute.
It's a great scene.
It is. It's a good scene.
It's totally fun, Michael, Sam's brother, has sort of fallen in, trying to find Star, Jamie Gertz's character, and has sort of fallen in with the vampire crew. And they take him to the pirate hideout, which is...
Yes.
Yeah. Super cool. Looks like a great place to overdose on heroin.
It does.
Yeah. And they're all sleeping there, and all I can think of is like, God, that mattress has to be so filthy. So filthy.
This place is very unclean.
That's where they get Chinese takeout.
Yeah.
Like vampires often do.
Like vampires do. Yeah.
Sure. I love the Kung Pao chicken.
Mongolian beef.
I want to sink my fangs into a nice egg roll. Blah, blah, blah.
I'll take the wontons.
Did you take all the plum sauce, you son of a bitch?
Where is the hot mustard? I told you there is no hot mustard. Maggots, Michael. You're eating maggots.
That's right. And worms.
Yeah.
They do the little switcheroo, which first time I saw this movie was very effective on me.
Oh, fuck yeah.
The eating maggots is super gross.
Yep.
And then the make him drink the blood.
Nah.
Just the bottle. We put it in this fancy bottle.
Yeah.
Drink this blood, and that's when he goes and has a crazy night out, hanging from the train trestle and doing all sorts of...
One of us now, Michael.
That's right, gooble gobble.
Yeah. I never liked the color of that blood in the bottle, though. I always thought, that doesn't look like blood. It looks like Kool-Aid.
I suppose, but you're going to criticize the color of blood now? I mean, how many movies have we watched where, like, color of blood does not look like blood at all?
All right, fine. I'm just looking for something to complain about in this movie. Because there isn't much. Because this movie is fun.
Totally fun. I do have one big complaint I've always had about this movie, but it's at the very end. We'll get there. Yeah, so Michael drinks the blood, and then very quickly Sam starts to catch on to it.
You're creature of the night, Michael. Just like out of a comic book. You're a vampire, Michael. My own brother, a goddamn shit-sucking vampire. You wait till Mom finds out, buddy.
Shit-sucking vampire.
Yeah.
Nice.
You wait till Mom finds out, buddy.
Yeah. That's another example of, like, I mean, goddamn shit-sucking sounds like a teenager, but he seems like there's still vestiges of a younger character written in there. Because that's also where he's like, take your bath, And he goes up and takes the bath, and then, Michael can't drink milk. Vampires instantly become lactose intolerant, so he dumps the half-gallon of milk on the floor.
Well, there's no Chinese food in the house.
No, I know. What are you going to do? Nobody saved me any beef with broccoli.
Where is the Mongolian beef?
So he goes up the stairs with the hunger in him.
Yeah.
And then their dog Nanook saves the boy's life, saves Corey's life.
Good dog.
Yeah, totally good dog. So Michael is going to be hanging out with these vampires, having what looks to be, these guys look like they have a really good time.
Yeah. This makes vampires look like, I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, that got me thinking about, obviously, throughout all of vampire lore and movies, there's always been a sexual element to them. Bela Lugosi and on. It's all like...
Who's dead, by the way?
Bela Lugosi is dead.
Bela Lugosi is dead. I told you I'm feeling singy tonight.
Yeah. But is this the first case of, I want to say, like, sexy? They're not teenagers, but these are like young, 20-something, rebellious, youthful vampires. Is this kind of the first case of that? Or have they been in movies like this before?
In the Hammer films, all the Hammer vampire stuff, the women are always playing up the sexy aspect of it.
Oh, sure. No, you get Dracula's daughters and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Super sexy. But they're also kind of conventional vampires a lot of times, right? But I'm trying to figure out if was this the movie that kind of ruined vampires, that makes them not really monsters. They're monsters in this movie, but they also is like, I'm in.
Yeah, but I also think this might be, I could be wrong, but this might be one of the first movies that show vampires in facial prosthetics when they're turned.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because if you look at Christopher Lee vampire, he's got the teeth, he's got the full scleral glass lenses, which are fucking painful. And these guys do too, but they also had foam appliances, that are giving them different structure. And what I like about the structure is it's not just like, they have hollowed out eyes and you can see their normal human orbital bone. No, they've got some legit structure, not on a human skull going on underneath that skin, which is cool.
They look monstrous. They look bestial.
Totally.
They saved that reveal for when we were talking about the surf Nazis dancing around the campfire to Run DMC. When they go to feed on them, that's when you see the lights come up on Kiefer Sutherland. You're one of us, David. And that's a great little reveal. Because they do look great. Of course, no eyebrows, because no eyebrows equals scary.
Absolutely. And it was Greg Canham was the prosthetic designer for this. And he was brought on board by V. Neal and Steve Laporte, who were the on-set people. And V. Neal and Steve Laporte actually went on to win the Oscar for Best Makeup a couple of years later for Beetlejuice.
Oh, no kidding.
That's right.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I think they look wonderful.
They do.
I have always thought that the transformation into the vampire looks awesome in this movie.
Yeah, completely. It has become the iconic look. Like, as far as, like, when people try and make vampires now, they all look like the Lost Boys.
But what I was saying before is vampires previous to this movie, like, you didn't want to be one, I don't think.
No, not really.
But like
maybe
after
you
this,
wanted one of his brides to bite you, but
yeah, but you didn't want to necessarily be a vampire. But we're going to get a slew of movies after this, and like whole franchises, like the Underworld franchise, where you're like, yeah, I want to dress like that and hang out with these sexy people and live in this old house with amazing laser technology and weaponry. This sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the whole Twilight series and everything, too, which spawned its own thing, too.
What? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that.
Well, but I'm just stating, like, there's now a whole sort of, and I guess Anne Rice books really would have done it, too, right?
Yeah.
On a literature
and those
level.
Those books came before this movie.
They did. They did. So it was a vibe, but I really think this movie cracked it open because you had tons of teenage boys and girls being like, yeah. I want to sleep all day and party all night, never grow old, live forever. Being a vampire is fun.
In the 90s, all makeup effects guys dressed like the Lost Boys. It was all fucking long duster coats and long hair and dangly earrings. Yeah, everybody was aping on the Lost Boys for sure.
Sure. Listen, if you're looking to pick up like a 50, 55-year-old woman, I think that look probably still works.
The gray wolf look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we need to talk about the dinner scene.
Yeah, let's get into it because this is a good moment that, they think Max might be the lead vampire. So he's coming over for dinner, dating mom.
They come up with the idea that you can cure someone's vampirism if you kill the head vampire.
Yeah.
Which is something that I had never heard until this movie. I think that's part of the vampire lore, but I don't know. Have you ever seen that in any sort of vampire movie? Did they kill Dracula and then all the brides are revert back to normal?
I want to say that this is something that I know to be vampire lore.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it came out of this movie and then became popular or if it started somewhere else. I want to say it probably started somewhere else in one of the Hammer films, maybe even in the original Dracula. Did the brides turn after? No, because they're full vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In any event, Ed Herman, who's really trying to make the moves on our mom, Diane Wiest, he comes over for dinner, and of course, he sees Michael there and says, well, you're the man of the house, and I won't come in unless you invite me. And he says, come on in, Max.
Yeah. Jason Patrick just cranking up that I'm angry, angsty vampire kid.
Motherfucker is he is smoldering the entire time. Like
he is.
He's the first time his Nikes step out of the car onto the lawn, like, oh my God, control your smolder.
Yeah.
So the Frog Brothers come over for dinner too, and they're going to put Ed Herman, they're going to put Max to the test.
Yeah, with the, my son grated the Parmesan. Would you care for some Parmesan? Yeah. And then he sprinkles it all over, and it's like, well, this is garlic. You hate it, don't you? No, I love garlic, but it's just too much. And they're like,
Yeah. This is a case of how much truth do you need? Because they just keep torturing this poor guy. They turn the lights off and they put a mirror in front of his face to spook him out. Like, no, he's got a reflection. And then they pour water in his lap. Like, doesn't it burn? Burn? Are you kidding? It's ice cold. They just keep going.
They do. And then they're sold. They're like, okay, not him. Our bad. Sorry. He's not him.
Sorry, Mom.
She is pissed too.
She should be. She's trying to get some too.
Absolutely. Divorced mom, about to sleep with the boss. Maybe not a great idea.
I know. One wonders, right? He's like, so you need a job. How about you come over to my place on Tuesday?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's been looking at the employee manual at the video store, but I'm pretty sure that the handbook says not to do that.
The HR person was cut out of the movie.
It's actually Tim Capello was the HR person.
I still believe you cannot hit on that woman.
Well, it's just hard to hear when the guy's got no shirt and baby oiled up and has a codpiece on. I still believe I can hit on whomever I please, Tim Capello. Yeah, so head vampire's not Max, so they think, it's got to be David, Kiefer Sutherland's character.
Yeah, so the Frog Brothers, they come over to the house to pick up Corey and Jason Patrick and Star.
Where's Nosferatu? Who? Prince of Darkness.
Nightcrawler, the bloodsucker.
El Vampiro.
Mike! They're here!
Mike! They're here!
El Vampiro.
I just threw that one in. Did you like that? Can we keep that? El Vampiro? I thought it worked.
Corey, you got top billing.
Yeah, by all means. Do what you'd like, sir. This is your film.
Nosferatu, the bloodsucker.
There he is. He's calling out our second movie of the night.
Yeah.
Where's Nosferatu? It's coming up after the break.
Coming right up. But yeah, they go pick up Michael and Sam because they're going to go to the pirate hideout to look for the sleeping vampires. A smart move.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Do it in the daytime. I don't know how many how many movies we've watched at this point where you're like, is nighttime really the best? You had the option to do X action in the day, and you still chose to do it when visibility is limited and monsters are at their most powerful.
It's 4:55. Should we go now to the vampire hideout?
Right.
Could we stop on the way and grab a Whataburger?
Yeah. So they go during the day. Michael's going to find Star. And what I thought was hilarious is that all of a sudden he has a torch. Did you notice that? He goes into the hideout and then Michael has a torch that he's looking around. It's lit up in there, but I was like, where did you get a torch? And how did you light that thing is blazing? Like, what happened there?
Right.
You know, you don't find like a flashlight or a lantern, or it's a fucking pitch-covered torch outside this place.
Oh, that's good.
And so he goes and rescues Jamie Gertz from that filthy mattress. And I think they've already had sex at this point.
Him and Jamie Gertz?
I think so, yeah. He goes there once before when the crew's not there.
Yeah.
And it happens so fast. Like, he's irresistible, I understand.
He is. He's been smoldering since frame 3.
I don't know what is soaked into that mattress, but you're going to set it on fire, I think.
How long's that mattress been there?
That's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah, because how
Yikes.
long has Max been the lead vampire, and when did he turn the pirates? Were they pirates? Because they're still dressed like pirates.
Yeah, that whole aspect of vampire personalities, not so fleshed out in this. They all look like they've been recently turned. Or their fashion sense, their language, their sensibilities say they're just a bunch of punk kids.
They at least caught video killing the radio star on MTV. And this is an MTV generation movie.
Oh, boy.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
And I was hearing Joel Schumacher talk about there's that one sequence, it's right after he's been turned, and it's like a montage, and it's all kinds of like fade in and fade out and cross fades and all kinds of things going on. It's like 3 or 4 different sequences overlaid over one. And he said, we couldn't have done this prior to MTV. The music video generation brought about this style of film work. And by the way, I got to give a shout out to Michael Chapman, who shot this movie. Yeah. He also shot Taxi Driver and Raging Bull.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah.
So they're in the pirate hideout, and the Frog Brothers find them all hanging with some gnarly-ass feet. Those
Fucking
are good
cool
feet.
Yeah, those are great.
They are. I'd never seen that in a vampire movie before, right? They're always in coffins. These guys are hanging like bats.
Yeah.
Upside down.
So good. So good. So good. And in fact, we're going to have to put on the Instagram. Have you seen the video of the bats hanging upside down done to Bauhaus?
No, I have not.
Oh, it's so good because it looks like bats dancing in a club.
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Like a goth nightclub.
A goth nightclub with Bela Lugosi's dead playing. It's bats and they're all hanging upside down, but the camera is upside down, so it looks like they're standing there shaking back and forth. It's fucking awesome. We'll put it priceless. On the Instagram or a link on this episode. Look for it in the show notes. It's good.
But our Frog Brothers first come, first staked, I think is the is the line that he gives when they kill Bill S. Preston, Esquire.
Yeah, that's right.
Alex Winter.
Poor Alex Winter.
Yeah, they take the little one out first, which not always the best strategic move.
No, I think you want to go for the big guy.
Yeah, the biggest, meanest looking one.
Yeah.
Take him out. But they kill Bill S. Preston, a geyser of blood.
Good stuff.
And then they get chased out of there by Kiefer Sutherland. You're dead meat, I think he says.
Yeah.
And they barely make it out. Kiefer Sutherland gets his hand burned by the sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
And they get to the car. And then my wife noticed, I've seen this movie 10 times, maybe more.
Sure.
She noticed that they're all covered in blood when they get back there, and the blood has glitter in it.
Yes. Yeah.
Sparkly vampires?
I was gonna mention it. They intentionally, because it's not really blood that comes out of them. It's a bunch of methicellulose that we've talked about before. It's a thick, viscous fluid, but it doesn't have a strong blood color to it. It's a little bit more pinkish.
With the blood color. All right.
They put a bunch of glitter in it because they wanted it to read in the light during that gusher sequence, and then they're covered in it, and yeah, it's there. It's 100% there.
Glittery blood.
That's right. This has been a Glittery Blood Hollywood Minute.
But now the shit has hit the fan, right? Because they've killed one, and they know that night the vamps are going to come to the house, so we get a montage.
Yeah.
And I am a sucker for these montages.
Me too. It's
in
great.
every single movie, where it's like, we've got to gear up for the apocalypse or the attack or whatever. And so they're busting into church and filling up the canteens with the holy water and smashing the biggest bag of garlic I've ever seen in my life.
They obviously went to Costco and bought 30 pounds of garlic.
It looked like more than that.
He probably sold Batman number 14 so he could spend it on garlic and water guns.
Totally. That must have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that scene was cut out.
You fill up the bathtub with the holy water and the garlic, and they're getting the house all ready. They, I think, put stuff in the chimney. That's not going to work. And then they wait for nightfall when all the vampires bust into the house.
Yeah. And it's a good climactic vampire fight with all them coming in. And, that's where we get death by stereo, which is pretty great.
Yeah. So he hits him with an arrow.
Yep.
Who knew? Corey Haim, archery silver medalist. He blasts Billy Worth into the stereo, and it electrocutes him. And I thought, what was that house wired for? Because that should not have happened.
This does not seem safe.
A breaker should have popped somewhere. He got absolutely electrocuted like he was sitting on the electric chair.
Yeah, and then explodes. And that sequence was actually a little shorter earlier, but test audiences were laughing so much and cheering because they thought it was so great that they were cheering and laughing over the death by stereo line. So they had to add a couple of seconds. So that clip is a tiny bit longer. You see the hand on the ground and you see a couple other things and things falling on the ground in like a slower motion. And it's so that the audience would hear that line.
Oh, that's great. And we've talked about quips a lot. That's a solid quip right
it is.
there.
It
That's
is
a good
solid
one.
quip.
Yeah. It's a ridiculous death.
It is, totally.
Absolutely ridiculous death. One that is, in the realm of vampires, more believable is Nanook pushing the vampire into the bathtub full of holy water.
Yep.
And garlic.
Yeah.
And that guy absolutely screaming and flopping around.
Yeah.
Until naught but a skeleton remains.
Yeah. There was a mid-stage where they did a styrofoam head, and it was supposed to melt because they put a bunch of acetone in the water. But when it came around time to do it, they diluted the acetone with so much water that it actually wasn't very effective anymore.
Oh.
And it was also really, really cold that day, and I guess that affected it too. So it barely did what it was supposed to do. And that's why you don't get to see the meltdown actually happen. It's mostly underwater.
Yeah, anytime you can bring up a skeleton from like a vat of dry ice fog, just like classic, ooh, spooky touch right there. I dig it though. But
totally.
What?
Man,
No.
we talked about the wiring. What the fuck is going on with the plumbing in that house, too?
Oh, that plumbing is a mess.
They boil him in the bathtub, and the toilet explodes.
Yeah.
And the sink erupts in geysers of blood. Yeah, just over-the-top nonsense.
Could you imagine when Mom comes back? Were you guys having a party?
No, man, we're not.
Yeah. Well, when she does come back, she's pretty pissed.
She is.
Michael has just killed David, right? On the Chekhovian antlers. As soon as you saw him, you got to know somebody's getting impaled on those things.
Of course, this is also post Salem's Lot, so you know that's coming.
Oh, okay.
And that's a death in Salem's Lot.
Good point. Good point. But of course he doesn't turn because David is not the head vampire. And
What?
then,
No.
yeah. Mom comes back and she's like, what has happened to this place? And that's when we learn that Max, if you invite the vampire into your house, you'll be powerless against him, I believe is what he says. Of all the vampires, he kind of looks the goofiest. I don't know, just on Ed Herman.
Vampire John Lithgow?
Yeah, he does. He does actually look a little bit more like John Lithgow with that makeup on.
I put the two images together. We'll put it on the Instagram. Vampire John Lithgow. Yeah, it's good. It's just a picture of John Lithgow and a picture of the Ed Herman makeup, and they look the fucking same.
But this is what has always been my biggest gripe about this movie is the way that Max gets it in the end.
Yeah.
Of all the silly shit and funny shit and fun stuff that we have watched throughout the course of the movie, the way they get him is the one thing that breaks it for me, that strains credulity, right? You hear the horn from Grandpa's car, and he comes driving through the wall of his own house.
Yeah.
And he's got those big fence post stakes on the hood of his car, and one of them impales Max and sticks him to the wall and kills him.
Yeah. How did he not just kill everybody in the house by driving the car into it?
I mean, he could have. How did he hit the vampire with the thing? You can't see through the wall. Why would you drive a car through the fucking wall of the house?
You, sir, are irresponsible.
Well, maybe he was like, the wiring's already shot and the plumbing fucking exploded, so I guess I'll just file this one with the insurance company, too.
Too many damn vampires in my house.
Now, that is a great line at the end.
It is.
And it's a great, you got Corey Haim, Jason Patrick, and Diane Wiest looking at him like, what the fuck, as the lights go out and the credits roll. And it's quality moment at the end of this. Yeah. At the end of this movie.
What are we going to rate this movie with?
What do we want to rate it with? Do we want to rate it with maggoty Chinese food? With fence post steaks? With stained mattresses?
I like fence post steaks. Because there's a number of them on the front of that truck. Was it a truck or was it his 57 car?
It's not the 57 car. He's got like some sort of old Jeep
it's
type
a Scout.
thing.
Yeah, like a Scout.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Mm-hmm. Fence post steaks.
Yeah, how many fence post steaks do you give it?
This is a classic. This is a classic 80s movie. It's a classic vampire movie. I really think it's tons of fun. I'm going to give this one 8 fence post steaks.
Nice. Me too, sir. Me too. 8 fence post steaks for The Lost Boys, which still holds up. It's good. It's worth seeing. I still believe. Hell yeah.
Your Timmy Capello venture is a little bit close to Michael McDonald.
Yeah. No, easy. Easy with the Michael McDonald.
You still believe. It's also a little bit like what a fool believes.
I believe in vampires.
But we got plenty more sacks on the way.
Yeah.
With Nosferatu.
Yes, we have Nosferatu. We have Nosferatu today.
Oh, yeah. The Lost Boys, the tagline was sleep all day, party all night, never grow old, never die. Right?
Yeah.
It could have been sax, vamps, and rock and roll. That would have been a good tagline for the Lost Boys too.
Yeah, maybe that's for the remake.
Shall we head to the lobby?
Let's head to the lobby.
All right. Blah blah blah.
Show starts in 1 minute.
We are back from the lobby.
Welcome back.
Did you notice that bottle of baby oil in the bathroom? What was that about?
Tim Capello was over earlier. He and I were talking about a couple of sax riffs.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. Was he wearing the codpiece?
He's never not wearing the codpiece.
Wow.
That's what you get with Timmy.
To be Tim Capello. It's just codpiece in the day, codpiece in the afternoon, codpiece at night.
Yeah.
So I got a little synopsis here of Nosferatu.
Nosferatu.
I will not be doing it in this voice, though, because that would drive us fucking crazy.
It would also take too long to get to the plot points of the film.
2024's Nosferatu, directed by Robert Eggers. A remake of the 1922 silent film by F.W. Murnau. Robert Eggers' Nosferatu is a striking, gorgeous shadow bath full of impressive Romantic-era period details, taking us from the streets of Visburg, Germany, to the decrepit halls of a Transylvanian castle and back again. Moody, erotic, and unsettling, Nosferatu creeps along with solid performances from Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, and an almost unrecognizable Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, the titular monster. Make no mistake, though, this is Eggers' film as the auteur-director takes the helm and creates one of the most beautiful-looking movies, horror or otherwise, in quite some time. Nosferatu. Mike, what did you think?
Well, Prince of Darkness, I think you definitely hit on the fact that this film is gorgeous.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It's solid, period. Everything looks and feels authentic, even down to a lot of the dialogue. My good man, know your place, madam. Take your leave. We must onward. You know, I wrote those down because I want to start using them in daily life. Along with, good day, sir.
One step closer to being a theater nerd.
Yes. Good day to you, sir.
You're right, the period details, the costumes. I mean, if we're talking awards and stuff, I think this is probably surefire costume design
and cinematography.
Nomination. Well, sure, and cinematography.
Yeah.
We'll get into all that.
Yeah. Yeah, how do I feel about this movie? It's beautiful. It's well done. It's also, I didn't like it. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't like it. You know what I mean?
I do.
I think I was so hyped up for the idea of how great Nosferatu was going to be. I bought into the hype.
A ton of hype around this movie.
And when I finally saw it at the end, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
You know?
I watched it twice, of course.
Me too, yeah.
To try and get it. The first time I saw it, I enjoyed it. And what I was left with was, wow, that was a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful movie. The second time I watched it, I caught on to some things a little bit more that actually made me like the movie less.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I mean, sometimes watching a movie, I don't always pick up on everything the first time. So I had some questions when I got to the end of it the first time. Questions that I was able to kind of gloss over a little bit because I had just been taken on such a moody ride and it was so gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like you said, the cinematography is so beautiful that the questions I had about, like, how is that happening or what's going on, I was kind of distracted from them because everything was so beautiful.
Yeah. It's typical Robert Eggers movie. It looks good, it feels good, it sounds good, but maybe it's not as good as it should be.
I haven't seen The Northman or The Lighthouse. I've seen Witch, which I liked. Had a lot of hype around that movie when I first saw it as well, but I did enjoy that film. But the hype on this one it was kind of off the chart.
Yeah.
And in preparation for this, I just happened to have the original 1922 silent film on DVD. Mm-hmm. Do not ask me how. I think somebody gave it to me as a gift like a decade or so ago, and it had just been sitting on the shelf. But I was like, oh, holy shit, I've got it. So I did watch it, and it's interesting. You know, I don't think outside of film school nerds or maybe extreme horror buffs, there's any real reason to go into the silent film version of Nosferatu. You know, movies have come a long way. Yeah. They've come a long way. Yeah. But to see what Eggers took from that movie and exploded out, fleshed out even more, brought some characters in the forefront, to see what he changed from that original movie, and to see the way he took what's a much shorter film and expanded upon it was really cool, I thought. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I thought was really neat about it. Because that first silent movie uses shadows a lot, too, in some very iconic ways, right? And Eggers just turns the gas up on that. Just expounds upon that, explodes it out, and the shadows become mesmerizing. The
shadow play was great in this. You know, you get a little bit of that in Coppola's Dracula, and that's one thing that everybody remembers. Oh, that's so cool, how the shadow's doing something different from the vampire. And
like Peter Pan. I just want to bring it back there.
Okay, all the way back to the original Lost Boy. Is Nosferatu the original Lost Boy? I mean, I know Nosferatu is a ripoff of Dracula.
Yeah, so spoiler alert, not really a spoiler. Right. Nosferatu is, in fact, a ripoff of Dracula. Back when Bram Stoker wrote the original play and novel, it had some traction, and Murnau and company, they did this movie without the rights to Dracula. And Bram Stoker's widow was like, I'm going to sue you. I'm taking you to court. Mm-hmm. And so they went to court, and I have to admit, it's a little like, do you remember when Vanilla Ice came out with Ice Ice Baby, and he tried to convince us that it wasn't ripping off Under Pressure, and he was all like, no, theirs goes, din, 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 and ours goes, din, 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 ding. Essentially, I think the same argument that Murnau must have made to the courts, because yes, there are some differences, but they are far more similar. The guy comes to the house to sell a house to the vampire in Transylvania.
All they did is change the names. That's all they did.
Yeah, there's some differences in the characters too.
The ending is different, but we'll get into that.
And they were told, you have to pay Bram Stoker's widow X amount, and you also have to destroy every copy of the movie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of lucky that this movie, the original, even survived.
Yeah.
Up to this day.
Yeah, because they still had distributed a bunch of copies of it, and they just those didn't get destroyed, or they. Yeah. Not all of them, at least, which is good.
It is, because the original Nosferatu character design, the actor is Max Schreck, is I think the guy's name that plays the original Count Orlok. Yep. That's a great character design.
It is. It's very cool.
That bald head and the pointy ears and the long fingers and fingernails and stuff. Very, very cool character design.
Yeah. What about the 79 Werner Herzog version?
I didn't watch that one.
I watched that one as well.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I will say these movies are super, super, super similar in many ways.
Really?
Yeah. Herzog does a lot of really strange sequences with live rats.
Well, it's interesting. There are a number of rats in Nosferatu, too, and they used real rats in that, which is crazy because there's a lot of them in some of these scenes.
Watch the Herzog one if you get a chance. At least skip towards the end, because there's some sequences where you're like, wow, really? You have that many rats there? This doesn't seem like a good idea, especially in the 70s.
This could take a turn.
Yeah.
Especially in the 70s.
Yeah.
All these rats are having unprotected sex, sleeping with each other's partners.
They've gotten into the bags of marijuana.
Oh my God. What is happening to these rats? Look at all the mustaches on these rats. Jesus. What's happening?
Check out the flares on that rat. He's groovy.
Oh my God.
I think we digressed a little bit too much from from 2024's Nosferatu. Let's just cut to the chase and say, how many plague rats would you give Nosferatu?
How many plague rats would I give Nosferatu? Like I said, the second time I watched it, I actually started to have some serious problems with this movie. If I was judging it just on how beautiful it is, this would be a 9.5.
Sure.
Maybe even a 10, just in terms of beautiful. There are striking images in this that I will remember from this movie when people talk about it. There's just like certain images already.
Yeah.
However, it didn't live up to the hype. I have some serious issues with it. I'm giving this one 6 plague rats.
Wow. Indeed, sir. Know your place, madam.
That's right.
Take your leave now, my good man.
I said good day, sir.
We must onward to the rest of the podcast. I give it 6.5 plague rats.
6.5, huh?
Totally same feelings that you did. This should have been a 9, and for me, it ended up being a 6.5. And yep, I watched it twice as well. There's something that just doesn't hit on it, you know?
I do know. I have something that specifically I put my finger on in the second viewing. Now, there's great performances. Lily Rose Depp is very good. She does some great physical work in this, I thought. Nicholas Hoult, I always like that guy. You know, just about everything he does.
Is he in every movie that's come out this year? Nicholas Hoult?
Yeah, he's James Brown in it. Hardest working man in showbiz, right there.
He's like the only guy working.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen so many movies lately that are Nicholas Hoult movies.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, he's in this one too. Okay.
There he is again. You get Ralph Ineson there. Oh, good old Ralph Ineson.
Yeah.
Playing,
good day, sir.
Quacky doctor. Willem Dafoe. Solid, although sometimes Willem Dafoe, but this is just my personal feelings about Willem Dafoe. A lot of the time it was like, Willem, you seem to be in kind of a different movie than everyone else. But it works because he's got such charisma. Like sometimes that's the point of his character in a movie, is that he's such an oddball. And this one, he's a bit odd, but great. And then Bill Skarsgård, who does that thing with his voice that is truly impressive.
Yeah.
I think he really disappears into that character with all the prosthetics that they have on him.
Completely.
And you might have some criticisms about the final design and everything, but I have to think that as an actor, getting all of that on and then transforming his voice, which is a whole octave lower than what he normally sounds like. You know, I guess he worked with opera coaches.
Yeah.
And he was doing like Mongolian throat singing and all this stuff. I think it's really kind of a crazy length that he went to. To me, it's so good that it opens itself up to parody immediately.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like one of those things that instantly you're going to latch on to it, and suddenly everyone is doing their Count Orlok voices. And perhaps not through any fault of his own. It's just the material, but the cadence, not necessarily like the tone of his voice, but the cadence of it reminded me at times of Nandor the Relentless.
He totally watched every season of fucking What We Do in the Shadows because he is definitely evil Nandor.
Yes. Because Nandor has that same cadence, but they're just taking it from the same region. You know, they're really doing that Balkan accent.
Yeah.
But I thought he was great. Yeah, so the acting, the cinematography, for me, the weak point is going to come down to some writing that I found confusing and ultimately upset me a little bit to take me out of this one.
Okay, well, let's go to the lobby and let's come back and then discuss the spoilers for Nosferatu, which, you know, I'm sure there are many we can discuss.
Would you like butter on your popcorn?
Can I supersize this for you?
The combo meal will save you 50 cents.
Oh, let's go to the lobby. I'll see you in a minute. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the diva to get ourselves a treat.
Especially things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy sauce. Let's all...
We are back from the lobby.
We were in the lobby and having popcorn.
Sometimes when I like to splurge, I enjoy an ice cold Fanta.
Fanta is close to the name Phantom, which of course is spooky.
Oh, Nosferatu. Nosferatu.
Indeed.
Nosferatu, not so much for me.
I forgot to say it earlier, but I can say it now. There's Nosferatu, there's Yesferatu, and there's Meh Sferatu.
Yeah.
And Meh Sferatu is kind of how I felt about it.
Meh Sferatu, sometimes nah Sferatu.
Nah, brah.
Oh. Brasferatu.
Oh,
that's
a good one.
Exploitation movie waiting to happen.
Keanu Reeves in Brasferatu.
Whoa. I'm totally a vampire.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, so Nosferatu starts off with some voiceover from Lily Rose Depp that the first time I watched it, quite confusing. Like, come to me, you belong to me, and then you see her walk outside in this sleepwalking state and lay down on the grass and have a weird convulsion.
Yep.
It's good. So one thing that Eggers does well that I enjoy about this is that in the original Murnau film, that character is kind of a secondary character. And she does have these sleepwalking fits. And she does have a connection to her lover as he goes to Transylvania, like a across the distance. She's got this strange connection. But they don't really deal with it in the silent movie too much. Oh, she's just a hysterical woman who feels across, the power of love. As
know your place, madam.
Lewis might say. But they really bring her into the forefront of this story. A lot of this is her story.
Yeah.
And they make her psychic in this, right? So her sleepwalking fits and everything immediately made more sense to me in this movie than it did in the original, which was just a hokey power of love type psychic energy. But here she's legitimately has psychic abilities or extrasensory abilities. And that point will come up numerous times during this movie.
Well, what she basically did is she psychically posted an Instagram cleavage pic and Count Orlok slid into her DMs. Like, hey, what's up, girl?
Yeah.
You are going to be mine.
Yeah. She will say in this movie, I searched out for him. I wanted comfort. Essentially, she's having wanton thoughts or lustful thoughts, and she puts it out into the ether and gets a response.
Yeah.
It's just strange to me that she's in Germany and the response comes from Romania.
Yeah.
Was there not a spirit closer at hand? Like, that's a real long distance call.
Somebody that's maybe less rotting corpse.
Yeah. But no, that call goes all the way to Romania. And
yeah.
It's like, I
will accept the charges.
You are a very fine-looking woman.
And it's something that I didn't really catch the first time I watched this movie.
Neither did I, actually.
I caught it, but I didn't quite understand it. That she, and as we get into the movie, she will say that she essentially started all this.
Yeah.
The first time I was confused. The second time, by the time we get to the end of the movie, it just makes me mad. But we get her convulsing in the beginning, and then it says, like, years later, and we're in Germany. Mm-hmm. We should say, too, might refer to this as black and white. It's not black and white. They use a filter to make it look like moonlight. Mm-hmm. So it's very monochromatic looking. It's not truly black and white. And what they do with the filters in this movie is magical. I think. Because when you get into the city streets in Germany, you go from the moonlight, it still has a very gray palette. But anytime there's like red out there, like the butchers are chopping the meat and you see like the reds look kind of vibrant and they're popping out. And so many times in this movie, just the way Eggers directs it, like the actors will be very still as they deliver their dialogue and things look almost like paintings.
Yeah.
The way things are framed up or framed within frames, what's happening in the foreground and the background, and the actors aren't moving a whole lot. It really is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Looking like old romantic era paintings.
They really went deep with the sets and the props and creating all that stuff. They shot most of this stuff on stages in Barrandov, which is in Prague. And they shot
the Czech Republic, right?
Yeah, they shot some exteriors at some castles in Romania and also in the Czech Republic. They didn't shoot anything at Bran Castle, which is actually the one that I got to go to when I was in Romania. And we can talk about that later, and then we'll cut it out and throw it into the Patreon. But there's a lot of great stuff as far as this look. Fantastic.
Oh, man.
Nothing to complain about there.
No. I'm not bringing off any marks for the way that this movie looks.
Yeah.
Because I think it's great. But obviously, we touched on it. This is the Dracula story in so many ways, right? And so at the beginning, you get Thomas, who is Nicholas Holt's character. His boss says, hey, there's a count in the Carpathian Alps who wants to buy a house here in Germany, so you have to go and get him to sign the paperwork.
Yeah. He says he's infirm. He's got one foot in the grave.
Yeah.
And then he laughs.
Yes, he does. This guy does a great job in this. Interesting to note, too, that character is dressed exactly the same in this one as he is in the original silent film, the boss.
No shit. That's
same
cool.
Same haircut, same sort of waistcoat and tails and everything like that.
In the 79 Herzog version, his name is Renfield because they use the Dracula names in the 79 Herzog version. It's not Count Orlok, it's Count Dracula. And that is Renfield, is the boss.
And he says, you're going to have to go to Transylvania, so our boy has to go back to Ellen, Lily Rose Depp's character.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, hey, look, this is good. We're poor. This is a chance to make my name in the firm. I just have to be away for a little while. And she's not happy that he has to go.
I need to tell you my awful dream.
Yes.
And everyone was dead. And we're like, oh, okay. Yeah.
You weren't at the altar, and I ended up marrying death, and then I turned around, and everyone was dead.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta go, so...
So he takes off on horseback towards Transylvania, and here's a funny thing about the original silent film. So the copy of it I have on DVD, obviously it's a silent film, there's no soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
They relied on the actual theaters that they played in to provide organ music or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
The version I watched, a score had been applied years later. And every time that this character, Thomas, his name's different than the original, every time he's riding somewhere, the music will change to let you know that the location is changed. And every time he's riding somewhere, they use old-timey burlesque hi-hat on it.
Really?
So every time he's going somewhere, you hear...
That's great.
And it is hysterical throughout that film because, like, it'll switch to Transylvania and there'll be, like, strings or something, and, and it'll go to Germany.
That sounds
and you'll
great.
hear, like, woodwinds, and then it'll, like, here he is back on the road. Just expect him to be wearing pasties underneath his vest.
That's great.
Yeah. Hysterical. There's a lot of unintentionally funny stuff about the silent film that we'll get into as we go. But he gets to the old Romani village, right?
Yeah.
Great scene.
Totally.
Whoa, those peasants.
Yeah.
The award for best peasant goes to Old Lady and Nosferatu. Holy shit. They looked like the real deal in there.
They completely did. Yeah.
And obviously a rich stranger has come to town and they're all hooping and hollering and playing instruments, and you get a belly dancer who just does a backbend as the camera's coming at her.
Yeah.
Like the camera's just going to trounce right over her.
Yeah.
On there.
Yeah. He showed up on Virgin on a Horse Night. actually.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, he gets there and he doesn't speak their language, which is a nice touch, but they put him up for the night. And yeah, what's that going on? In the night, he looks out the window and there is a naked chick on horseback being led away. Mm-hmm. And he's curious, so he follows them.
As you would.
Sure, sure. I mean, look, that hotel he's at doesn't have cable. There's no HBO. There's not even a TV guide that he can read and pretend like he has a TV.
He doesn't have the Spice Channel, but there's a naked woman outside on a horse being led by some gentlemen. I should go follow and see where this is going.
That's right. He's got Spice Channel live from Transylvania. So he follows. And he watches them freak out, open a grave, and stake another vampire?
Yeah.
I mean, a bunch of blood comes out of that sort of corpse's mouth.
Yep.
So they kill a vampire.
Yeah. But the woman on horseback is never addressed again.
I know.
It's like she's just there to be like an odd thing for him to follow, and then gone.
Yes. That is so funny to me too. Is that
what was
you
the
think? Point? You think, virgin sacrifice is about to happen.
Absolutely.
That's 100% where you go.
Totally.
But then when it doesn't happen, you're like, why was there a naked chick on a horse? I'm not complaining.
Yeah. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Good day, sir.
And he will see that vampire get staked. Oh my God, in heaven. And then cut to him waking up in bed.
Like it was a dream. Yep.
Startled. But he's got muddy feet, so he knows it's not a dream. Mm-hmm. They do a lot of waking up in bed. In this movie.
There's a lot of startled moments that people have.
There's a lot of waking up in bed, and there's a lot of, and I think to the actor's credit, too, a lot of looking right past the camera, horrified for like 10 seconds, just like, oh God, oh God.
You know what there's too much of? Wheezing.
Oh, boy, it is man. Not since Jefferson's marathon has there been this much wheezy.
That's brilliant. Wheezy!
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a note that says that Count Orlok's Tinder basically says he has asthma and you have to be comfortable with facial hair.
Oh, we'll reveal the mustache in just a moment because our boy gets to the castle and they keep Orlok in the shadows at first. You get this great shot. He's following Orlok up the spiral staircase and it's all that moonlit color and the shadows. As he's spiraling up, turns a corner, and where Orlok should be, he has suddenly disappeared.
Yeah.
And instead, as he goes a little further, you see in the corner of the frame the warmth coming from the fire in the room beyond. And I just thought, holy shit, that's a great shot. So much great camera work, the colors, the surprise of Orlok disappearing right as he's talking to the guy, and then the warmth of the fire in the distance where our boy will come and give the contract to Orlok to sign.
We learn that he's an impatient dick, Orlok. Completely impatient dick.
You're late.
He's mad.
It is already past the witching hour. All the servants have retired.
Yeah.
The gypsies in the town mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
He's mad about the gypsies. He's fucking mad at them.
Our boy Thomas is saying, they have some strange customs. Maybe he was going to get to the naked chick on the horse.
Yeah.
He just gets cut off.
Yeah.
Because Orlok's like, enough of this.
Yeah.
You must sign the paperwork. Let me peruse this contract.
And what a raw deal is this, all right? Because here we go from sleep all day, party all night, never grow old, never die.
Yeah.
That's the vampire life I want. You
Absolutely.
know what vampire life I don't want?
I don't want Nosferatu.
Let me make sure there is enough in the escrow account to deal with the property taxes.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to get this notarized and signed in triplicate. Oh, shit, it's President's Day. The bank is closed. Where will I find a notary?
Like, if you have to deal with the banal fucking bullshit of regular life, you got a raw deal on the vampire train. I'm sorry.
I have a note here. It actually comes a little bit later, and it's when Orlok gets him to sign the contract. Gives him the gold, gets him to sign the contract.
Yeah.
And then he says,
Now we are neighbors.
I was like, did he just say, now we are neighbors? I think he does it in a Count Orlok way, so he says,
Now are we neighbors?
and I actually turned on the subtitles because I had a screener's copy of it, right? So I turned on the subtitles, and I watched this movie with the subtitles, and you would not believe how many times on the subtitles it says, wheezing. Wheezing sound, wheezing breathing, hacking, coughing, wheezing.
I watched this movie twice, and I would believe how much it says.
But yeah, he says, now are we neighbors? And then I thought, is he going to complain about the HOA?
Is there some problem with planting rosemary bush in front of the property?
That's what I'm saying, man. Come on, you've got to be able to skip that shit if you're going with the vampire life.
Yeah.
You've got mesmerizing powers. Can't you just be like,
The deal is done. Let's get to fucking Germany now.
Yeah, exactly.
So they do keep him in the shadows or in the background, or you just see his gnarly ass taloned fingers with those disgusting fingernails taking the contract and lifting out the bag of gold. And our boy has spent a horrifying night full of bad dreams in the castle as the Count is getting all the affairs in order. And finally the Count's like, it's all done, get some rest. And our boy doesn't want to. He stays there one last night, and in the morning he's trying to leave and can't get out the front door, right? He's all locked in there, and that's when he breaks into the subchamber and he sees the coffin. Now he knows Orlok is bad news at this point. So he pushes the lid off the sarcophagus, and that's the first real good look we get of the design for Count Orlok.
Count Mustache, yes.
Yes. Probably more historically accurate. He's a Carpathian or a Transylvanian warlord, right?
And that is exactly why they chose that. It was Egger's idea, and they said because he wanted him to look like a 12th century noble, like a Romanian noble. And they had big, giant, crazy fucking mustaches. So yeah, I get it. But also he's got a terrible comb over because a lot of his hair's fallen out. And the back of his head is like a rotting gourd. So it's a little messed up, and there's no hair back there. But the mustache is his legit 70s stash, fucking porno stash mustache. Yeah.
I mean, eat your heart out, Burt Reynolds.
He's a little scarred. He's looking like a burnt Reynolds there. In that.
There it is.
Oh, the old Burt Reynolds laugh.
That's where you get your first look of him, and also naked. And I thought, why are you naked? Why? I mean, it's not like
I have to take the laundry down to the basement.
Like, I don't think he's doing his laundry.
Do you happen to have quarters?
It made me think, is he naked most of the time? And just like,
company is coming over. I should put on some pants.
Why not? Why not just be naked all the time if you're not going to get cold because you're undead?
Sure.
But legit though, why is there a naked Orlok and a clothed Orlok? Like, why would you take your clothes off?
Although all the other times you see him, like when he's chewing on the chest of whoever, he's naked Orlok. It's just shot from the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we see him. We see his grand mustache.
Mm-hmm.
He catches the pickaxe as Thomas tries to slay him in the sarcophagus.
Yeah.
Ah, jump scare. And he stands up, and that's when we see Nosferatu, the vampire's junk. I wasn't prepared for that.
No.
There it is.
You know, they actually gave, as a wrap gift to Nicholas Hoult, a prosthetic penis of Nosferatu, like frame.
The Nosferatu? That's
the
amazing.
Nosferatu. Yes. In fact, there's a picture online of him like holding it up, proud. It's funny.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because this is a big, extensive prosthetic makeup. I haven't spoken to the guy, David White, that designed it, but I think it is probably a lot of pieces as opposed to a suit and some pieces. I feel like it's a chest piece and a groin piece and a back piece and thigh pieces and stuff like that. It took 6 hours to get him into the full thing.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So I know that's probably more than Skarsgård wanted to do. And I believe he has come out since and said, I don't want to do that again.
Sure. As is often the case after you go through a prosthetic change like that. He really disappears into this role, though. I really thought he did a great job.
But I mean, there's like no Bill there. It's Count Orlok, which sure, you want that as an actor. You don't want to be you as the character.
Yeah.
But there is no resemblance of him there.
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. So Count Orlok, he's caught the pick. He's going to be on his way to Germany. He tries to trap Thomas in his castle with the wolves and the rats.
The rats.
Meantime, Ellen, Lily Rose Depp back home, is having some wicked seizures.
Yeah. Is not good for her.
Strange, panting, nearly crab walking seizures that get our doctor Ralph Ineson there, right? Mm-hmm. Who advises her caretakers, like, well, make sure she sleeps in a corset and tighten that up. That's good for her posture and her breathing.
Yeah.
I'm going to increase the ether.
Yeah.
It's such wonderful quackery that in this absolutely humorless movie, I did get a chuckle out of that.
Absolutely.
Like,
and when William Dafoe shows up later, he says, has she been bled?
Yes.
And I'm like, oh yeah, that's something they did too. I forgot.
Yeah, we get that. And in the meantime, too, our boss, Herr Canuck, who's the Renfield character, he's gone off the deep end.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I never understand, even on the second viewing, is like, okay, I get that Ellen, Lily Rose Depp's character, has this connection with Count Orlok.
But why him?
Why him?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
They find that book of spells and the sigils drawn on the floor and stuff, and it's obvious the guy is into some black magic, but the Ellen Count Orlok connection is so intensely personal. Yeah. And I just never quite grasped why this dude is also part of the equation. Like, how did that happen?
He sent Thomas because it is the husband of her.
Yes. He's getting him out of the way and paving the way for Count Orlok to come. I understand all that. I'm just not sure how it happened. And what connection there is between her and him and Count Orlok.
Yeah.
It just was unclear and unsatisfying. So the connection with the boss, Herr Canuck, as he goes crazy, is unsatisfying.
Yeah.
But you know what is satisfying?
What?
The Ozzy Osbourne moment in the jail cell.
Yes. I made a note on that too.
Yeah. Little pigeon cooing.
Yeah. Oh.
And then he just bites the head off it. That's a great little gag. The second time I watched it, I was like, oh, did they switch out the pigeon? You know what I mean? Because he's got it and he's like petting it.
Yeah, it kind of goes below frame.
And then they kind of put it under the table for a little bit and then it comes back and I was like, is that still? And then you see it still moves and it blinks. I don't know if that was like
probably just
digital.
a little digital thrown onto it, yeah.
And then he bites the head off and you get the stump of the bird head squirting blood out.
Onto his chin. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Ralph Ineson's character goes, my good man, why would you do that? Like, that's your fucking response?
Yeah.
Like, I saw someone do that Tuesday. Now, why would you do that? This doesn't make sense. He just bit the head off a fucking pigeon.
Yeah, he goes into that guy's cell and there's all this like Kabbalistic stuff etched in the walls and a bunch of tiny dead animals like offerings, gifts on the floor and stuff. Yeah, Ralph Ineson is a quack doctor, but he really keeps his cool.
He does. My good man,
this.
why would you do that?
Meanwhile, Thomas escapes the castle, and Orlok somehow gets all his stuff packed up and gets to a boat.
Yep. He doesn't seem to have very many servants.
No, you know, it's an interesting thing they don't really touch on in this one. It's a big deal in Dracula, right? Dracula is bummed out because he doesn't have any servants. That's why Dracula is the one that picks him up in the carriage in Dracula, right? Because there's no coachman. Thomas escapes and is found by like an order of Byzantine nuns.
Yeah.
Who nurse him back to health.
Yeah.
And they give you a little exposition there. They say, Orlok was a black enchanter. The devil preserved his soul, and you are trapped in his shadow. That's what they say.
It's cool they brought up the shadow thing, because the shadow play is so significant.
Throughout the whole movie, a lot of times you just see Orlok in shadow. And again, this movie is beautiful.
Yeah.
There's a couple of shots in there and a couple of effects that really land. And people will talk about for years to come. For sure. But Thomas kind of gets cured, and then he's back on the road trying to get home. Little stripper burlesque on the way home.
Nice.
And then we also cut to I don't think they call the boat the Demeter, but it is in Dracula, right? Orlok he's all crated up.
Yep.
And there's plague rats on the ship, and the guys are getting sick.
There's a great alien moment, too, when that guy goes down below decks.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like heading towards the coffin, and then naked Orlok sort of steps out of the shadows behind him, just like the fucking alien in the ship. Like, is that it is him. Yeah. That was a cool moment, too. Like I said,
absolutely.
Lots of great cool moments in this fucking movie.
And Orlok bites that guy in the neck, tears his throat out, and then right after that, you go back to Herr Canuck in the insane asylum, who's tipped over saying, help me, and the orderly comes to help him, and he tears the throat out of that guy.
Yeah.
Because Orlok is getting closer to the city, and his toady needs to escape so he can prepare the way and get him to his new manor house.
Yeah.
Where there will be neighbors.
I will address the HOA about putting in a fruit tree.
You know, when William Dafoe first comes and meets Ellen, he says, tell me of your night wanderings. I thought, man, if that just isn't a pickup line. Could you imagine going to a bar and like walking up to some girl and saying, tell me of your night wanderings. You've had them since you were a child, yes?
That would probably only work like 1 out of every 500 times, but when it worked,
it's gonna be magic.
You better watch the fuck out. Yeah, so Lily's been having, Lily Rose Depp, Ellen, has been having successively worse seizures, really horrifying looking ones. And yeah, Willem Dafoe comes in to tell Ralph Ineson, don't tie her up anymore and stop giving her the ether. And I mean, he sounds like a pretty sensible guy.
He's super excited to be there, though. He's like, he's always excited about everything that he's talking about. You're right. William Dafoe is in a different movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes that works to his advantage, you know? In this one, there are a couple of moments, like as much as I really like Willem Dafoe, he was not my favorite performance in this movie.
No.
You know? But yeah, he has a consultation with her where we kind of find out, oh, she's always been psychic. We find out like, oh, she's always had this gift. Something that the first time I watched it, I don't know, it just never really landed on me somehow. And like I said, when I get to the end of this movie, I have real problems with that. But Orlok gets into town, the ship smashes on the dock, and the rats are scattered everywhere.
Live real rats. Yeah, good.
That's super cool that they did that. And then Herr Canuck takes Orlok to his new house, the rundown manor house.
Yeah.
Doesn't even really upgrade.
No.
It just goes from one shitty castle to one terrible, decrepit manor house.
Again, the vampire version of the Lost Boys, sleep all day, party all night, dressing real fancy, riding motorcycles. I mean, Orlok is by himself in a shitty fucking stone, basically a fucking cold cave, right? No light. Everything's dirty. There's no fun going on. He looks like a fucking walking corpse. So it's not like he can like charm the ladies. If he does charm the ladies, it's got to be through the mental internet DM that he's doing with her. Yeah.
Yeah, he gets a raw deal. This is not the vampire life that you want.
No.
But he gets there, and Thomas gets there pretty much at the same time, right? Thomas comes back on a horse in the middle of the night, falls off, and things are just taking progressively worse turns for Ellen and Thomas. As Ellen spends a night in her friend's bed as her husband is away, and that's when Orlok comes to visit her.
Yeah.
And is like,
baby, you're going to give it up to me, right?
I am here. And she's like, nope, I love my husband. Nope.
Yeah.
And he's like,
he sold you to me for a bag of coins.
And she's like, nope.
You have 3 nights and I'm going to kill everyone you love.
Nope.
So he leaves, and guess what? It starts right away, because she wakes up and her friend is on the floor, wheezing.
and
panting.
Being eaten by plague rats.
Not so great.
Oh my God, so
Not
horrifying.
so great. You know, the effects in this movie, outside of the lighting and the cinematography and everything, they're pretty low-key most of the time. I mean, obviously, Orlok's prosthetics is a huge job, and he's got some gags, like the bird getting its head bit off and stuff, but like the plague rats biting her and swarming on her isn't like a real extensive effect or anything, but it is certainly gross and creepy.
Yeah.
And makes your skin crawl.
Completely.
You know?
Yeah.
This is a movie that relies on mood to creep you out rather than gore and effects.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. So I think right after that, I can't remember if it's William Dafoe or if it's Ralph Ennison that says, "The night demon has supped of your good wife's blood, and he will come for the rest."
Yeah.
Good day, sir.
Gonna make this shit sing, you know? You get some lines like that, sink your teeth into that.
Yeah, and then Thomas comes back and he's telling her all about the demon, and she's like, yeah, I know. This is all on me.
Yeah, we get a fantastic scene, and a few things have happened, right? Orlok's in town, reaching out to her, and probably the most iconic shot of the whole movie of the shadow hand moving over the steeples and the rooftops of Visburg, stretching out towards her. Very, very cool shot. And that's, I think, right before he appears to her and says, "You've got 3 nights." And after the plague rats eat her friend, they get kicked out of the house, essentially.
Yeah, you know, with good reason.
Yeah.
Listen.
Thomas is still sick.
Yeah. My dude, you showed up in a bad state. Your girl here, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but... You know, plague rats showed up and they're chewing on my girl, so you gotta go. This isn't cool anymore. You gotta punch out, my dude.
The friend there, Friedrich is his name. Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think, is who plays that. Right? Friedrich kicks them out, and so they're back in their own meager abode. And you get an absolutely wonderful scene between Ellen and Thomas.
Is this when she calls him a little bitch?
Essentially, yes. Yeah. But that they go through so much before they get there. You know, she confesses this whole thing about she was lonely and she sought comfort, she sought company, she sought tenderness, and she got a response from the other side, from this from the darkness. And it gave her everything she wanted. And then soon it became torture. And she says, he is my shame. He is my melancholy. She says, he took me as my lover. And then he stole to me in my dreams. All my sleeping thoughts are of him. She confesses that after she had found comfort in this, her father called her unclean, and it drove her to great shame and regret. And then it was only by marrying Thomas that she rediscovered her own worth. And this scene has so many ins and outs. Then she starts freaking out.
Completely freaking out. Yeah. At him. That's when she's calling him a little bitch about how he was at the castle. And he told me how you were, like that kind of shit.
You sold me for a bag of gold. You didn't write me any letters.
Yeah.
You didn't think about me. And she's spasming. Her eyes are rolling back in her head. Her tongue sticks so far out of her mouth. It looks like it's going to snap off at the root.
Yeah.
It's really
weird.
I was so glad she didn't just start biting her own tongue.
Yeah.
Because I thought that's where we were going.
Oh, sure.
With that moment.
Sure.
And then she sort of like lustfully crawls over to him and caresses his thigh with her cheek and is looking up at him and says, you'll never satisfy me like he could.
And he's like, challenge accepted.
Yeah, they have a really kind of awkward, rough sex scene where she's saying, yeah, let him see us. And all of a sudden he looks at her face and it's all bloody and he kind of freaks out, backs off. And then she's snapped out of her reverie and they get together like, they're never going to leave each other and I'm going to protect you from this. That whole scene is so bonkers.
Yeah.
And it's so well done.
Yeah.
You get revelations about the story. You watch their relationship. You hear about the foundation of their relationship. You see the relationship get challenged. You see them struggle to overcome it in this really awkward way and then eventually come together in the end.
Makeup sex.
It's my favorite scene in the movie. As much as this movie wows you with its visuals time and time and time again, that scene between the two of them is hands down my favorite thing in this movie. Really loved it.
Sure.
I really loved it.
Sure. I think it's shortly after that you get William Dafoe at his place reading the script that he found at Herr Knock's place.
Yeah.
And it's even fucking storyboarded with the end scene drawn in an image of Orlok with her.
Yeah, and he learns, she has to willingly give herself to him.
Yeah.
Which is just as it is in the original Asylum one. I don't know if that is how it is in the Herzog film.
Yeah, it is.
In order to break the curse and rid the city of the plague of Nosferatu, she must willingly spend the night with him until the crowing of the first cock.
Which they say a lot.
Boy,
There's
they do.
a lot of cock crowing in this one.
Yeah, there sure is.
I only caught it once the first time, but on the second watch, I was like,
well, that's like the fifth time they've mentioned the first crow of the cock now.
And things have just gotten worse for her friends and everything, right? The wife of Friedrich, I think her name was Anna. Anna comes in and she sees her kids just getting he's just cracked them open like boxes of High C or Capri Sun and is just like
totally.
She's squeezing all the juice out of them.
He's drinking them like a juice box and throwing them on the floor.
Totally. Just crumpling them up and leaving them on the floor like a fucking fourth grader. Like,
this little girl is full of 100% vitamin C.
Just crushing it.
Yeah.
That whole family dies. Friedrich, he's got the plague. Does he take his own life or does he just die after kissing the corpse of his bride?
Well, it's clear he's got the plague.
Yeah, and Willem Dafoe, after they're dead, is like, let's burn it all. Has a real sort of gleeful...
He's very gleeful.
So happy. dancing around.
You know what's another funny thing is all the plague everybody talks about, no one's ever covering their mouth or worried about touching things. They're just standing there like, yep, that's the plague. It's almost like, you remember in one of the Monty Python movies where he's got the long pipe and the guy's had his leg removed by a tiger and he's looking like, and he's sort of touching the leg with the pipe. Like William Dafoe's got like a 2-foot pipe, and I kept expecting him to be touching plague boils with it, like right here. No one's very concerned about plague getting on you.
You know, an interesting difference between the original silent movie and this one is that when Orlok takes the journey from Transylvania to Germany, right, it is implied that the boat stops 3 times before it gets there because there is a plague epidemic that is sweeping through Europe.
Okay,
This town, and
the Black
this
Plague.
town, and this town. And they didn't reference that. I mean, this movie is already like 2.5 hours long or something. But I was surprised that they didn't reference that as the vampire is traveling up, he is bringing this wave of disease with him. And I think to the point that you're making right now, yeah, maybe they underplay that whole, even though they say plague all the time and they talk about it as a plague, they're kind of underplaying it a little bit.
The Herzog one has a ton of plague stuff, and it's got a shitload of just live rats in sequences, and they're all white rats, too. They're all like lab rats, which is kind of odd. So there's all these white rats just covering everything. There'll be sequences with like 500, 600, 1,000 rats, and you're just like, wow, this is kind of weird. And at the end, when, you know, the town is just getting destroyed by the plague, essentially, there's people outside having dinner, and there's rats all around their feet, and there's rats covering the doorsteps, and there's rats just climbing on everything, and these people are like, well, we all have the plague, so we're having our last meal right here, outside. And it's so bananas. And I wish there was a moment like that a little bit more in this one. I mean, it gets a little bit into the plague rat stuff, but not quite as much as 79.
Yeah, interesting. Because they refer to it as a plague plenty of times. Yeah. But you're right. Nobody's ever keeping a safe social distance in Visburg.
There's no masks. Where's the plague doctor masks? Well, I mean, that would have been about this time, wouldn't it?
I think that's even earlier than this.
Yes,
actually,
and nobody's covering their face at all. Don't breathe it, good sir.
So Willem Dafoe, who's essentially the Van Helsing character, right? He discovers in the book, okay, she's got to give herself freely. So after the funeral for the little girls, they come up with the plan.
Yeah,
and there's like 2 parts to it, right? They're in the carriage. They're like, we're gonna break into his manor house at night. And when we watched this, my wife immediately was like, at night? Which is right on the money. Why? Why at night?
Yeah.
And then they explain, like, well, he'll be gone and he has to sleep in his sanctified ground, right, in his coffin. So we're going to destroy his coffin. Then he'll have no place to go. And then we can drive an iron stake through his heart. You get all that. And then Willem Dafoe has that conversation with Ellen as they're going up the steps there. And she says, I know it has to be me. She understands she's got to give herself willingly, and that he is essentially getting her husband out of the house to take care of Count Orlok so that she can be alone and deal with this. She's like, you know, I summoned this thing. I brought this on myself. And I wish I could remember the exact words, but they're having this conversation, and Willem Dafoe says something like, yes, the darkness within ourselves, we have to figure out what is the evil part of ourselves and then crucify that evil. And she says, I'm not evil. She just says flat out, like, it's not evil what I've done, as she's coming to this realization that it's going to be her and she can do this. And he says something like, back in the days, you might have been the high priestess of Isis with all of your gifts and all that. And she says, okay. So we got our boys out in the manor house, ripping off the lid of the coffin and
hair knock.
Leaping before you look. Because they just kill a dude in there who's not the vampire. Which I thought was hysterical.
It was. It's funny because the way he sits up, it's like, oh, like he's just as shocked as they are. Oh no.
Listen, Herr Nock, I know I haven't always been the coolest boss, but I thought just for tonight you can sleep in my bed. Is this okay?
This is a total Nandor move.
What a dick move. Yeah, totally. The boys are out there, and Orlok comes to her, and she has dressed herself in a wedding dress. And he's like, you give yourself willingly. And she's like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, totally.
Bite my chest. She's going to stay there all night, and...
Let's be honest. She just honeypots him. Because he's getting ready to go, and she says, more.
More. Yeah. Yeah. Stay with me.
Yeah.
Stay with me. Right? Yeah, it should work. And it does work.
Yeah.
And then the cock crows, and we see the light come on Orlok's face in ways we never have before, really kind of grossly reflecting off his cataracts.
Yeah.
And then the blood out the mouth, the blood out the eyes. It's pretty gruesome.
It is. Do you think he was like,
I thought we would just stick the tip in and see where it went.
And she's like, more. And then he's like,
cock is crowing.
Also there, did you hear the rooster?
He starts his little count meltdown.
He does.
Which looks good. It's great. I mean, there's
does.
some obvious digital stuff in there, but it's good.
Super gross.
Yeah.
And then, Thomas has returned just too late.
Yeah.
He has run down the street, realizing that he has been fooled, that they have taken him away from the house. And he goes just in time to see his lovely bride expire.
What? No.
And you get that shot, the overhead shot of Orlok, because Orlok does not just fade into dust or burn away as vampires often do.
Which is
He
cool.
just kind of expires, and you get that overhead shot of his cadaverous body on her, all the flowers around them that have been placed there by the doctor, and that's when you realize that he has skipped leg day like you wouldn't believe. It's so crazy. Skinny little bird legs that guy has.
Yeah.
Like,
Everything.
how did you even walk around on those stilts?
Yeah. He
Yeah.
is definitely, he's shrink wrapped himself now to bone, essentially. He looks like a mummy from Guanajuato.
Oh, disgusting.
It is.
Wonderfully disgusting. And
It's
also, as they place the flowers around and everything, it is oddly beautiful, that shot. It's grotesque, but Eggers really knows how to create a picture. And yeah, it's both simultaneously beautiful and grotesque.
'Twas beauty killed the beast.
But it also, on my second viewing, this is when I got really pissed off at the movie.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I get pissed off because she died.
Sure.
And this is why. So, like...
She does in every version, though, right?
She does not in the first version.
Oh.
She does not die.
Well, she does in 79.
She lures him in, and she essentially keeps him there. Obviously, it's 22. It's a lot less overtly sexual. But she keeps him there long enough for the sun to come up, and then he fades away, right? But she survives it. So what bothers me about this is the first time I watched it, I didn't really understand like her extrasensory powers called out to this demon, and this demon responded, and there was a wanton aspect of that that she sought comfort and she sought company, and that like a sexual act, I guess, because her father will call her unclean.
Yeah.
And then she has that great scene, like I was talking about, it's my favorite scene, where she sort of confesses this to Thomas, and that says, like, when I met you, I understood I didn't have to be ashamed of this anymore. I could be happy again. But the Count has come back, and he is my shame. And narratively, she's got to be the one that defeats him in the end. So she has to take essentially control or possession of her shame, right? I'm just running with this metaphor that I really kind of didn't get the first time. But the second time, And what pisses me off about it is that, like, obviously throughout the ages, there's been a pretty serious double standard when it comes to women's sexuality and how they possess that, right? Even in this movie, they touch on it a little bit, right? Because you've got this idea of like the virtuous woman, and then when Friedrich says like, yeah, we've got another kid on the way, Thomas is like, you always were a rutting goat, and Friedrich's, like,
my good man.
Like, a little, I'll have another.
Huzzah, sir! The pantaloons are coming off, I see.
But obviously, right, the stereotype and the archetype of this virtuous maiden persists. So here we have a young woman who feels she's wanton, she takes control of her sexuality, then is made to feel great shame about it, then finds a relationship where she says, I don't have to be ashamed about this. Then her past comes back to confront her, and they're like, well, no, you need to take care of this. All of that works.
Yeah.
But it pisses me off that in the end, it literally consumes her and she dies.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the message is in this. They push that character to the forefront of this movie, and I'm with it. I'm with it all the way through until the end, and then I'm not sure what it's trying to tell me about this lady. Like, you shouldn't have acted that way, lady.
Yeah. Yeah.
See what you get. See what you get for liking it. See what you get for wanting to have sex. You get drained and left on the bed by Mr. Chicken Legs.
My final note was exactly the same. I'm not sure what the point was.
And you know what? It's possible. Maybe I'm stretching too far for this one. It's possible I'm reading too much into it. But like I said, the first time I was kind of stunned by the beauty of this movie and that stuff of the how it all happened, how she used her powers, how she contacted this thing, what their relationship was, what their connection was. All of that kind of went over my head a little bit. On the second viewing, I feel like I got it more. And then when I got to the end of this movie, I was like, shit, shouldn't have killed her. She should have been able to conquer this. She should have been able to own this and have everyone be cool with it. Or if they weren't going to be cool with it, that's its own like sad little epilogue.
Yeah.
That would work too. If they're like, you've had sex with Nosferatu. I mean, you got rid of the plague. Thanks for that and all, but I'm not sure I can touch you anymore.
Good job. But
I'll be moving on.
But Willem Dafoe would be there. He'd be all excited.
Yeah, sure.
But he knew this was coming. I mean, he saw the storyboard. He saw the image of the mummy on top of the dead lady. So he knew that that's where it was going.
Yeah. And that's why I gave it a 6. Because what was the point? I know what conclusion I came to, and I find it deeply unsatisfying about this movie.
Well, I do not disagree. I gave it a 6.5. And I can't say that, now that I've seen it twice, I don't know that I'm going to watch it a third time. I mean, I would watch Coppola's Dracula multiple times. I would watch Lost Boys over again. I would watch Near Dark. I would watch a ton of vampire movies before I would go back to this.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's terrible. It just doesn't quite 100% work. But as far as the Lost Boys, I still believe.
I do, and I watch the Lost Boys all the time.
Yeah. Lost Boys wins tonight, for sure. Well, thanks for sticking with us on this episode, everybody. Send us an email to thewholedamnthing13@gmail.com and look for us on Patreon. We're the Whole Damn Thing 13 at Patreon.
Instagram, we're the Whole Damn Thing 13. So you can like on Instagram. We've been putting a lot of little videos on that, as well as on our TikTok, right?
Yeah.
It's
just the Whole Damn Thing, right?
The Whole Damn Thing. Yeah.
So definitely reach out to us. If you're on the Patreon, you have access to the Discord. There's a lot of stuff going on there, so pop in. We are about to get into voting for the Sweet 16 bracket bloodbath we're going to do for March Madness. So
yeah, it's our take on March Madness.
Yeah, we got 16 slasher favorites that we're going to battle down to the final 2. Look for that in Instagram and in the Discord and the Patreon.
Patreon is ad-free.
Yeah.
If you subscribe, if you want to throw us $1 or $4, get access to all sorts of little goodies, and it is, of course, ad-free on the Patreon. So
yeah.
Just one more benefit.
Yeah, if you're listening somewhere else, you are hearing commercials. And depending on how popular this gets, you will hear more commercials. So you want to get into the Patreon and get the commercial-free version.
Otherwise, you're going to have to hear that
Taco Bell has 2 chalupas for $3.
What do you have on the 99-cent menu?
The Baconator, only at Wendy's.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
The tail, the whole damn thing.
That's the end of another episode of The Head, the Tail, the Whole Damn Thing, with industry professionals Mike D. McCarty and James Knight. I'm your announcer, Tyler Patton. Well, more of a narrator. Anyway, next episode, Y2K and Maximum Overdrive. I hope you enjoyed this show, and we'll see you in the dark.